Okay, welcome. So, for our worksheet today, for our project, we're going to talk about value. So, what is value? Value doesn't refer in art to the price of a piece or any inherent, you know, value that you might have to something. Value refers to how light or dark something is. So that means it's black to white with all the grays in between. Now, color can have value, and we'll talk about that later when we get into color. But for now, we're just focusing on black, white, and all the grays. So what you should have provided for you down there is your own worksheet that I've made up for you. So this up here is called a value scale. And what we're going to do, imagine a gradient. So if I took this piece of charcoal and I started dark, I lifted it up until it got light. We're going to make this gradient, but we're going to put it in these boxes. So if 10 is white and 1 is black, I'm going to work from both ends in kind of the middle, and I'm going to start splitting the difference to find my correct values. So for this, we have the round vine charcoal, the square compressed charcoal, and the orange charcoal pencil. In order of use, vine charcoal is the lightest, compressed charcoal is the next, and the charcoal pencil is the darkest. This is the easiest to erase. This is hard to erase, but you can get most of it. And the charcoal pencil, once you put it on, it's almost impossible to make it go away. It's almost permanent. You can lighten it up, but it'll never go away. We're also going to use an eraser. If I had another one to spare, I would have given that to you. But a regular pencil eraser will also work just as well. So to start here, I'm going to start with my vine charcoal and then kind of work my way back with the other ones just to show you. So number one is my darkest dark. You're also going to notice that this is very smudgy. Don't go ahead and wash your hands until you're done, because if you wash your hands, they'll just get worse and worse. So we're going to hold off on hand washing until the end. So I've made my darkest dark as this can be. I'm going to go to number 2. I'm going to slightly lighten it up. Now you can barely tell the difference between these two. Here's why I don't recommend that you move from here to here in a straight line, because some people end up making it way too dark, and then you have something just a little lighter than this all the way up at 9, or they make it way too light, and then you're going back and fixing things. So in the middle here, between 5 and 6, these are our middle grays. So if you imagine halfway between black and white, you have something that's kind of in the middle. And you can blend this out. Go a little darker and blend it out again. When you rub over this vine charcoal, it's going to lighten up for you. Okay. You can also come in here, and 9 is literally barely there. So we're going to blend that out. Okay. And we're going to pull away a little with the eraser. So you can see that's such a light gray. I mean, you can almost not tell it's there. So I'm going to start working from here to here and try and find what's halfway there. So if we squint at this value scale, you can stop and squint and look back again. I'm going to blend that out, and I'm going to try and get something that's halfway in between these two. So that looks pretty close, and I can make my adjustments later. And then I'm going to do something that's halfway in between these. Oopsie. Okay, so that's a pretty good gradient. And then I'm going to bring 6 between 5 and 7. You may have noticed how I'm pressing with different pressures on this, and that I'm holding it far away with my hand. The lighter you press, the less charcoal you're going to put on here. So that's a skill we want to work toward. Something you always want to keep in mind. So if it's getting too dark, you might try pressing lighter. And I think 6 is just a little too light. They're all a little the same. Maybe 5 is too light. So maybe I have to darken that up a little bit too. There we go. So if I squint my eyes, these should be kind of like a gradient. So I'm going to move back this way. I'm going to start to darken. Oops, I'm touching this over here. I want to be careful I don't smudge my charcoal. So with 4, I press hard and blend out. You can tell the difference between a dirty finger and a clean finger. When we go do this, my clean finger picked up way more of this charcoal, but my dirty finger is coated in it, so it helps smudge it. So you can kind of use your finger as an eraser too. Go, and then 3. So this is making 5 look way too light, so I might want to go in and just add a little bit there. And there we go. So that's a pretty good gradient. So before we move on to the ball, before we go and do the ball, I want to focus on line weight. So line weight is how thick or dark a line is to how light it is. So I want you to take your charcoal and hold it like this between 3 fingers, pinky up, but I'm keeping this finger on here, and we're going to drag and make a dark line. Then I want you to drag, barely pressing, and make the lightest line you can. Then we're going to go dark to light, light to dark. Then we're going to go dark, light, dark, and light, dark, light. Just a little bit of practice there. So what I want to do here is, I know I said I was going to show you this before, but this will be okay. I don't want to overwhelm you at first. We're going to start with our vine charcoal, move to our compressed charcoal, and then the charcoal pencil at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade a ball. And if you think about a sphere where the light is hitting it, it's lightest where the light is, and then there is a dark shadow and a cast shadow. Like when you stand outside on a bright sunny day and your shadow is cast behind you. So if we imagine that the light is coming in and hitting the ball right about there, and you don't need to draw that. Going to start shading over here with the vine charcoal. You notice how also I'm shading around like this. What I don't want to see when we're all done is what looks like a circus ball. That's flat. That's a no-go. We want to shade sort of round because our object is round. And you know how I had us do line weights in practice over here? It was to help us get ready for this. So our lightest area is out here. So you can see that I'm kind of making these scribbles or scumbling marks, as they call them. And now my ball is very textural. It's got a lot of stuff. So we want to blend this out. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to start to blend out. And those more sparse marks, those marks that are farther apart or lighter, will give us less charcoal concentrated into one area. It's going to help me keep this light. That's a little dark, so I'm going to use my finger to kind of pull stuff away. And then I can use the eraser kind of make these swirlies. And then I'm going to blend that out. Now I'm going to go back in here at the end. Really clean this up. But for now, this should be good. So we can only really get about this dark with vine charcoal. It's really only going to be about a 5 or a 6 at its darkest. So that's why we have to move to the square compressed charcoal. So what I'm going to do, you're going to find it's a lot chalkier. It's like dense, almost like a mix between a chalk and a crayon. I don't want to go very far with this because I don't want it to get super dark. But I'm coming in just a little bit from the edge. I'm only bringing it about part way up. And then I'm going to blend this out. Around the side a little bit. I'm really blending this out with my finger. You can see that this gets a lot darker. So I want to start pulling this out. It's kind of like drawing in reverse. This is where I'm going to hit my highlight. I'm going to start to work my way back until I get this nice shade here. Now, round objects actually have what's called a reflective highlight on the back where the light bounces off the table and hits the object. So there's actually going to be this one area right in here where there's a reflected little light. And then from this, we're going to have our darkest dark, which is our cast shadow. The cast shadow comes out touching the bottom of the object. Straight out, it is rounded, and then comes straight back. Now you can use your compressed charcoal for this, or we can use the charcoal pencil. This is our darkest, most permanent dark. And it's also a way that we can make fine details later. So if you want to practice with this and shading so that you get a feel for it. It also It blends, but it doesn't blend super well. But we can use this to really tidy up our darks. You can see it's even darker than the compressed charcoal. So once you have the ball done, if you want, you can go around your eraser. Just clean it up a little bit. Make that nice and shiny. See that I've goofed up my value scale. Oopsie. That's okay too. The important part is that we learned how to do it. So, this is all I have for value. This is all we're doing today. So we're going to move on next time, and we are going to learn how to draw and maybe begin to shade more complex objects like a pumpkin or an apple.